All right, today we are uncorking the story of one of Italy's most powerful, prestigious, and, honestly, one of its most fascinating wines, Amarone. This is a story all about ancient traditions, a really lucky mistake, and a process so unique it literally creates a masterpiece in a bottle. So, let's get right into it. So, believe it or not, the entire legacy of this incredible wine kicks off with just one word, Amaro, which in Italian just means bitter. You see, the story goes that sometime back in the 1930s, a cellar master just forgot about a barrel of sweet wine, this stuff called Recioto, and it just kept fermenting and fermenting until every last bit of sugar was gone. The result? Well, it wasn't sweet anymore. It was dry, powerful, and, yeah, surprisingly bitter. And just like that, a happy accident gives birth to an absolute legend.
And that's where we start, with this accidental masterpiece. I mean, think about it. This new bitter wine was the total opposite of the sweet Riotto it was supposed to be. But the producers in the region, they figured out pretty fast that they'd stumbled onto something really, really special. A wine that was destined to become the icon of its home, Valpolicella.
To really get Amarone, you've got to understand where it comes from. Its birthplace is a region called Valpolicella, and that name literally translates to the Valley of Many Cellars. I mean, that tells you pretty much everything you need to know, right? Winemaking here is not some new thing. We're talking about an ancient tradition that stretches all the way back to Roman times, way, way before that first bitter barrel ever came to be.
Okay, so a wine this unique, well, you just can't make it from any old grape. You need something special. So let's take a look at the specific native grapes that really form the soul of every single bottle.
So the blend is really like a symphony of these local varieties. You've got the main player, the dominant grape that forms the backbone of the whole thing, that's Corvina. Then it's supported by its partners, Corvinone and Rondinella. And sometimes winemakers will throw in just a little bit of other approved local grapes. But it's this exact combination that sets the stage for all that complexity we're going to talk about.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because each grape has a very specific job to do. Think of Corvina as the heart of the operation. It gives the wine that crucial acidity and structure. Then you have Corvinone, which brings the power. We're talking deep color and those important tannins. And finally, there's Rondinella, which is all about balance and freshness, adding these beautiful herbal and floral notes. When you put them all together, you get a wine that is just so much more than the sum of its parts.
Okay, so we have the place, we have the grapes, but what's the single most important thing that makes Amarone, well, Amarone? It all comes down to this ancient technique, a true art form called appassimento. Appassimento. This is basically the secret sauce. It's the magic step. See, after the harvest, the very best grapes, they're not crushed right away. Nope. Instead, they're laid out to dry for 3, even 4 months. And what this does is it concentrates everything inside that grape. The sugars, the flavors, the aromas, everything gets supercharged. And let me tell you, this is a meticulous process. It starts with hand-selecting only the healthiest, loosest grape bunches. Then, they're laid out so carefully in these special ventilated lofts. They're called frutai. For the next few months, they just rest. Air circulates all around them, and they slowly lose water and transform into these little, intensely concentrated flavor bombs. Just look at the transformation here. It's incredible. You start with a fresh, juicy grape, right? And it ends up as this concentrated, almost raisined version of itself. The sugar and acidity just skyrocket. And those simple, fresh fruit flavors, they evolve into something so much more complex. We're talking dried fruit, rich spices, and all these other amazing notes. So, and this is the key takeaway, you're not making wine from a fresh grape anymore. You're working with a totally different, completely transformed ingredient. So after the grapes have gone through that incredible transformation, their journey is still far from over, not even close. From the drying lofts, we follow them down into the cellar, and this is where they're truly forged by time. Now, because those grapes are so packed with sugar, fermentation is a really slow and difficult process. I mean, it can take up to 50 days. That's how long it takes for the yeast to work its way through all that intense sugar and convert it into alcohol. This super slow transformation is yet another piece of the puzzle that gives the wine its incredible depth and complexity.
And this timeline, wow. It really puts the amount of patience required into perspective. Let's walk through it. You harvest in the fall, then 3 to 4 months of drying, then almost 2 months of that slow fermentation. And after all of that, it has to age for a minimum of 2 years in oak barrels, and then even more time aging in the bottle before it's even close to ready. This is the definition of a wine that is not made in a hurry.
So after all that time, all that tradition, all that incredible technique, what's the payoff? What do you actually get in the glass? Okay, let's talk about the Amarone experience and deconstruct what makes tasting this wine so special. First off, the aroma, it's like a universe in the glass. You get this incredibly rich wave of ripe, almost cooked black fruits. Think black cherry and plum compote. But then, layered on top of that, you get all those classic notes from the drying process, right? The fig, the raisin, and then it goes deeper with warm spices like cinnamon and clove, dark chocolate, tobacco, and even these wonderful earthy balsamic notes. It's just a lot in the best way.
And then you taste it. On the palate, Amarone is just this amazing study in contrasts. It's absolutely powerful, it's full-bodied, it's got this rich, velvety texture. But here's the kicker. For all that power, the tannins are so elegant. They're not harsh at all. It somehow manages to strike this perfect balance between that intense richness and a backbone of acidity that keeps it from ever feeling heavy. And all of that leads to a finish that just goes on and on and on.
So how in the world do you enjoy a wine this intense? Well, it's a natural fit for big, flavorful dishes. We're talking braised red meats, hearty game dishes, a super rich mushroom risotto. It's also fantastic with aged, hard cheeses, like a really good Parmigiano Reggiano. But honestly, this wine is so complex and satisfying on its own, a lot of people just sip it by itself. It's what they call a meditation wine.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. After everything we've seen, the ancient history, the happy accident that started it all, and the incredible, painstaking artistry that goes into making it, you have to ask the question, what is Amarone, really? Is it just a product of tradition, a lucky mistake, or is it a deliberate work of art?
You know, maybe the only real answer is all of the above. It's a wine that simply couldn't exist without those centuries of tradition in Valpolicella. It wouldn't be here without that one forgotten barrel. And it would be nothing without the immense skill and patience of the people who make it. The true answer, I think, is right there in the glass. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.